Welcome to Body Buddies, home of the Power Foods lifestyle. Take it one meal, one workout, one day at a time. And now, here's the founder of Body Buddies, Kristy Jo.
Welcome to the Body Buddies podcast. I'm Kristy Jo, and today you are joining my mother and I in the bathroom. Not like that, but
Putting on makeup.
Putting on makeup. We were having a conversation earlier today, and I said, hold that thought. Why don't we just hit record? Then I got thinking, well, we're not mic'd up. We don't have the lapel mic, and the quality won't be perfect. And then I just got thinking, why do we need to be perfectionists about this?
Which reminds me,
What's that?
can I tell you about yesterday?
Yeah.
So, I buy Christmas presents for my 26 piano students, little things. Usually a thing of stacks. And since Natalie, number 4 daughter, right?
And number 6 child.
Oh, yes. Natalie needed me to help her sew some things for Christmas presents she was giving. So I'd made a trade. Said, you wrap my piano students' presents, also your bags. And so she started to wrap the Pringles, well, stacks. And then she says, hey, Mom, how do you want me to wrap these? Because they're not smooth. And I said, do you remember who you're wrapping for? Your mother. Do I care? They don't have to be perfect. And she says, oh, yeah, that's right. Huh? So if somebody wants perfection, don't come to me.
And me too. I think I definitely picked up that trait, which is interesting. And this wasn't our topic planned, but a comment that I get quite a bit from people I work with is, how do you turn off this all or nothing thinking? They either want to be perfect or they don't want to try at all because they don't realize this, but they're judging themselves. They don't know how to quantify effort that is maybe 60 or 70% and call it good enough. Have you ever been like that? Have you ever been an all or nothing thinker?
Well, okay, maybe this will take us back into what we were talking about earlier. Okay, when I am going on 61 in March.
Which, by the way, yesterday somebody thought you were like in your 40s, right?
It was hilarious. You have to remember the really sweet compliments when they come, which, okay, this kind of goes back. So when I was turning 51, a friend sent me a link to a thing that helped me take off about 20 pounds. By the time I turned 51 and went in for, 51 when I went in for my physical with Dr. Christian, I was looking and feeling really, really good. And I had gone to a family friend, medical male, and when I walked in, he said, and this is one of the compliments you remember for a long time, he said, wow, you look like a teenager. And I wanted to say, yeah, everything except my face. But I didn't. I said thank you, and I remembered the compliment. Anyway, so 51 was a benchmark for me because I had taken off a lot of weight. I felt really good. I was doing a lot of stuff with Natalie, who was in high school. We just had a lot of fun. And the fun, I think, was partly because I felt good. I felt thin. I could wear whatever I wanted to. I loved going, not grocery shopping, clothes shopping.
That's the best feeling. When
Yeah.
you actually like how you look, you feel good, you look forward to those things rather than not wanting to.
Yeah. And so, okay, so 10 years. We're looking at a 10-year timeline. And I've really analyzed this. So one of the first changes out of that feeling good, looking good state was when I wrecked on Zorro. I had a really bad horse wreck.
A horse, yep.
Yeah, horse wreck, and where we crashed and he rolled over me and bashed my leg, and it was pretty severe. Anyway, a very dear friend during that recovery time brought over an Oreo milkshake. And my first thought was, I can't eat this.
Because at that time you were doing really well.
Yeah, I was doing great. And it wasn't that I felt deprived. It was just part of my mindset. This was not. But because of being injured and all of this other stuff, I said, oh, well, I don't want to waste what this sweet friend brought over, and so I ate it.
Which isn't a bad thing.
It was not a bad thing,
But what did
it
it do?
changed my mindset. And I've been very aware of that. And so then, fast forward a few more years, and Denzel died. That is a benchmark, because in hindsight, as I've gone back at different times and looked at some of those pictures, and there are a couple that I look at and just go, oh, gross. There's that belly fat showing.
We all have those thoughts sometimes, don't we?
I think so. Unless you are
Most people do.
Miss Perfection.
How long were you in that state?
Well, a long time. Because in the state of thinking, oh, there's the belly fat.
Yeah.
Well, I think things kind of spiral down, because when you feel like you've been hit by a dump truck and you didn't die, sometimes you wish you would have, you're in coping mode. And how I coped was with chocolate milk. I drank a lot of chocolate milk.
You love chocolate milk.
Well, I never drank it before. It was one of those food choices. I enjoy it, but I don't have to have it. And boy, good place to cut bad calories.
Yeah, you don't need those extras.
Yeah, one of the mindsets I'd always had was don't drink your calories.
Which I love that you taught us that, by the way.
Well, you're welcome. But, so just some of these things that I became aware of that were slipping. And then the year after, that Christmas after Denzel died, we went to California. Do you remember that trip?
Oh, yeah.
So we're down at the beach in California, and we're all still trying to cope. Dallin, our youngest, is on his mission in Nova Scotia. We're missing him. I'm feeling horrible for him because he's not with the family. And he's on his own and dealing with all this grief. And some of the pictures that we took on the beach on the lifeguard stand,
Oh, yeah.
I look at those and I don't like those pictures. Because of it reminding me of how far I had fallen from what I used to be. And, I think sometimes, especially as we age, we go, oh, it's age. Oh, it's age. Well, yeah, I agree with that. I think metabolism slows down, but our thinking kind of gets shifted. At least mine did. And anyway, so those are just some of the benchmarks. And we may have talked about this before too, about not wanting to exercise. Why would I exercise and put myself in pain when I'm already dealing with emotional pain?
Yeah, I remembered some of those conversations.
Yeah, and so, again, analyzing it and not freaking out about it, but being aware. I was definitely aware. And anyway, and so those multiply. You are dealing with stress, you're dealing with grief, you're dealing with life. And if I start crying when I'm putting on my makeup, I'm going to be mad at you.
No good. We can't be running mascara.
Okay, so anyway, just so many different things. And so fast forward, now we're at almost 10 years benchmark of losing the weight, almost 5 years benchmark from when Denzel died.
And can I preface this by saying, you've never been overweight. You've always been... Everyone has always, probably your whole life, looked at you and said, you look great. And I know you probably wouldn't say that, but...
Well, okay, and luckily with my body type, I can carry 20 pounds and kind of hide it. But I look at my closet now and I look at all the shirts that I have in there, and they're all camouflage. They're not...
Like more drapey.
Yes.
They don't really show
And I'm very
what's going
careful
on.
about the fabric, because depending on the fabric, it will cling to you and it won't hide a thing. And so you can look like you weigh less, but you don't.
Yeah.
And it's not about the number, it's about the feel. As I have felt pain in my back, as I have felt more lethargic, less active, and I'm a very relatively active person.
You're more active than I am.
You go
You're
to the
still
gym. I don't.
You're still rolling on the ground with nephews and nieces. I think that's
Not nephews and nieces, grandsons and granddaughters.
Oh, well.
Oh, that's good. You think I'm a sibling and not a mother. Thank you. Yes.
There you go.
Well, and I think about that when Desmond and Cayman come running to me at 4.5 and 2.5, and I can still grab them and pick them both up at the same time. I'm going, okay, I got to keep this up. I got to keep
Not
this
a lot
up.
of people can do that at your age, which even sounds weird to say that.
At your
You're
age.
forever just mom, which I think momland is like 35, right?
Okay, but you have to admit, we're looking in the mirror and I'm going, oh, gag.
Oh, stop.
Jeez.
All right, so let's
Well,
fast forward to the conversation we were having that
Wait.
made me say, wait.
Okay, I have to get into that because the conversation was when I walked in this morning and said, guess what?
Oh, there we go.
4 weeks, but I have to preface.
We keep
Sorry.
rewinding.
Whoever is listening to this, sorry about this, but this is the way
This
we
is
talk.
how we talk.
So 4 weeks ago, my youngest daughter Natalie and I were out horseback riding, and she had mentioned that she'd been one whole week now doing pretty much Kristy's thing of the protein, veggie, carb, protein, veggie, fat. And just as we talked, it was Veterans Day, and it was a cry day, it was a process day on the horses. It was really, really good. And because I had been feeling like I really needed to do something about myself, part for weight, but also for my brain, which is another aspect of this, I decided, and I didn't tell her this, but I decided I was going to do the same thing. And I was going to do it till March. I like benchmarks. If I do it for a month, it's not set in. Mm-hmm. And again, going fast forward, that would be 10 years benchmark. And so I would like to see if I could 51, 61, 71, you know, these are some good milestones. Anyway, and so I started doing the same thing. And look here on the calendar. See,
Uh-huh.
it's into December.
You've
let's
circled. So she's got the number written of the day.
see. Day 19 was on December 1st. Today is, well, I don't get to count today till tonight. So yesterday was day 28. So I weighed this morning. It's the first time I've weighed since I started this.
I can't find my eyelash glue.
Oh, that's a problem.
All right. Anyhow, we have a problem. Keep going.
No eyelash glue. Hold your horses. Anyway, so I weighed this morning, and that's when I came in and said, so are you ready for the results? 4 weeks, I'm down 7 pounds, 2 ounces. And your response was?
Well, first of all, the look on her face was
not joy.
Not joy, yeah. Just kind of like a little glum. And I said, that's great!
And I'm going,
That's really consistent progress. And you have to realize, having seen so many people's bodies change both in photos week by week by week, as well as measurements week by week by week, by scale week by week by week, nobody's body just drops 3 pounds every week. Biggest Loser gives us a really weird perception because they have that much to lose. Like,
right.
But a typical average body that's maybe 30 pounds or less overweight, you're lucky if you're dropping 2 pounds a week. It's usually closer to 1/2 to 1 pound per week, unless you're dropping muscle too, which is only going to happen if you're not training, doing any exercise, and not eating enough protein, because you don't have enough amino acids to hold on to that muscle while you're dropping.
Oh, which reminds me of something that I keep forgetting to mention to you. One thing I have been more aware of, and maybe because Dad is kind of the opposite, I have felt within my body, as I have been much more aware of eating fats and proteins, I'm warm. My metabolism,
Interesting.
I don't get cold.
I've never heard that comment before. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
It's just something that I've really paid attention to, and because we've had some cold days and everything.
In St. George, Utah.
Relatively speaking.
Everything is relative. I just say that because I live, 300 miles north.
In the snow, in the Arctic. Anyway, that's just something I have been more aware of. And I noticed it when I was on my mission, because it was so cold in Nova Scotia. And it's the only time in my life I have eaten liver, and I loved it. And I found as I ate liver, I stayed warm.
warm.
So it's just an interesting
Well,
thought.
I'm thinking about the science of it. That would basically put your body in fat oxidation mode, which when your body is breaking down that adipose tissue and stripping fatty acids from a carbon backbone, there is energy or heat involved in that process. So interesting.
Yeah, so anyway, so a couple of things we were talking about, that I have had over the last 10 years. There have been times that I have thought, I have felt bad for some of my friends and some of my children, and that I was thin, or they perceived that I was so thin, which, again, relatively speaking, and no, I'm not. I'm not obese. And because I have good posture, I carry it well.
Do you carry yourself well?
Here's another side. So, a couple of weeks ago, maybe close to 4 weeks ago, I noticed, like from when I did the piano recital with my students, some of these pictures are telling. You see what you see in the mirror, but pictures show you the backside, literally, figuratively. And I noticed that my posture wasn't good. And I'm going, I've never had bad posture. And I thought, has my rear gotten that big? And no, I'm very serious.
Oh, I know, but that's...
But what I realized was in carrying that extra weight, do you see how
and you've never been a back archer.
No,
You've always been,
But it just, with weight in the belly,
interesting.
it shifts the belly forward and the back.
You guys should see us. We're sitting here like
the mirror.
holding, different like rib, pelvic positioning. It is interesting, that relationship.
Okay, so watch. And people listening, you can try this. Go in front of a mirror, kind of turn sideways, tip your chest forward, which makes your rear end go out. And now pull your shoulders back, but keep your rear out. Okay, so there's one picture. Now, keep that pose, but tuck your rear end under. Do you look 10 pounds lighter just by tucking your rear end under and sucking your belly in? See, you're like this, and tucked under. You just lost 10 pounds of weight.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just visual. And so, that posture is huge. But as I have felt different aches and pains with my back, as I paid attention to my posture, I'm going, oh, duh. And, okay, so this isn't with a ton of weight to lose, but it is still extra. You're carrying a 20-pound sack of flour everywhere with you, and you get tired, and so you pitch it forward a little bit to reduce the strain in other places, and pretty soon you're feeling strained everywhere else. And anyway, so back to on topic, right? I realized that you can't not be careful with what you're eating because someone else feels bad.
Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot, that we don't want to make someone else feel bad. Like, okay, Dad and I were at this dinner with a lot of people, and there was a lot of Christmas stuff brought out, especially for dessert. And there wasn't anything on there that I was going to eat because I am committed to my plan, which is high protein, high fat, strategic carbs.
Which we love our baked yams.
Oh, I have
What other carbs have you been throwing in there occasionally?
salad dressing.
Half an apple?
I do.
You've been doing half an apple
apple
here or there.
Yeah, I've been doing so much veggie.
Well, I've been here in St. George. It has been nice. There's been a huge salad in the fridge every day with tons of different veggies cut up in it. It's been great to have as a base for every meal.
Well, and because I love pickled beets.
Yeah.
And I'm figuring there's got to be some carbs in that pickled.
Yeah, well, and there's about 6 grams of sugar per half cup. But
Yeah.
it's if it keeps you consistent in everything else you're doing, my feeling is always do the small things that keep you going.
Yeah.
But if cutting it out makes you feel restricted, that you are going to crash and burn, that's a problem.
Right. And so that's just the mindset. Like, if people haven't ever tried flat iron steaks, I highly recommend them.
Delicious.
They're thin, they are easy to cook. I go to our favorite grocery store at Lynn's, and I clean them out of their flat iron steaks, and then I bring them home, and and they're not fat, they're relatively thin. Anyway, so I put one in a sandwich bag and zip it shut, and so I have like 12 steaks in the freezer. So at lunchtime, I take one out, I zap it for a minute, maybe a minute and a half in the microwave to defrost it a little bit, and then it slices really well into strips, and it cooks in maybe 2 to 3 minutes max, and then I stick that on my salad, so I've got my protein and my veggie, and if I've got half of a yam, and I love it. We've had more fried eggs and bacon for breakfast.
Oh, so good.
But this goes back to the mind thing. Because of some of the things that I've read, when we get rid of the fats that are so important to our bodies, our brain suffers. And a lot of times when we get these combined fats and sugars, I watched something, a year or two ago, where they did a documentary on which is worse, fats or sugars. And they had these two twins that were doctors. One go on all fats and one go on all sugar for a month, and then weighed them. Also observed their mental state and everything. The one on all sugar had a really hard time processing information. But the point that they made that really hit home to me was, you have trade-offs whether you do all fats or all sugars. Where you get into severe trouble is so you've got all sugar or all fat. What do you have? Oh, you've got, sugar. You've got, say, cream. Put those together, what do you have? You have ice cream. Your body will shut down eating a ton of sugar all by itself. Your body will shut down eating a ton of fat by itself. But you combine that sugar and that fat, and it says, give me more, give me more, give me more.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ice cream. And so, like we were talking earlier, that ice cream has never been a huge thing for me until my sweet grandson, a year and a half ago, says, Grandma, I love the pink and white and brown ice cream. So I bought some, and we ate it together. And then I bought more, and we ate it together, and we bought more and ate it together. We came up with so many of those big, empty tubs of ice cream. And at one point I looked at that and went, holy cow, what have I been doing? And that contributed to everything that's been going on. And so for me, where ice cream isn't a huge, that's an easy one for me to cut out, kind of like chocolate milk.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it, especially if I've got hot pie. A little bit of vanilla ice cream,
Yeah.
But I don't crave it. I don't go, oh my gosh, I'm going to have this. And especially since I've been doing this for the past 4 weeks, I don't have body cravings. I will have mind cravings. I will think of something and go, oh, and then I say, oh, stop it.
Which I call those fixations.
Yeah. And again, I remember this from many years ago. The first thought is not a hunger.
Nope.
It's a thought. Oh,
It sounds good.
I have M&Ms in the cupboard. Oh, those would be good. Oh, but am I even hungry? No, but those would be really good. And so it's the thought process that, anyway.
Well, let's go back to the idea that feeling badly for others or not wanting others to, I don't know, just think that maybe you're over the top and they're not ready. It always seems to come down to social flexibility, what I think, because anyone can hibernate and make their choices and do fine, but how do you do this without catering to other people, whether it's consciously or subconsciously?
Well, and I bet there's lots of people who have been in this situation where either they're with someone who is extremely overweight, or they are the person that's extremely overweight and feeling awkward.
Yeah.
And, dealing with awkward. And so, like at this dinner that Dad and I were at, when they brought out these plates and plates of coconut macaroons, which I love, the 7-layer dessert, the fudge, the cookies. I mean, these plates were loaded, and there was one for every table of 8 people,
Wow.
and it was crazy. And I have a few different feelings. A lot of times we equate food with love. Let me give you the food that you love because I love you. But if you're having trouble with your weight, it's not always maybe a love thing.
Right.
Remind me to tell you about Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And Dad and love. But so the thing is, like with this dinner, I didn't make a big deal out of it. Just said, oh, I am so full, thank you. And again, not doing anything to make yourself the spotlight. No, I'm on a diet. No, I'm doing this thing. No, a simple, oh, it looks great, but
Yeah, that goes a long way.
yeah. And so take a doggy bag and give it to your neighbors.
Yeah. That's kindness and love. Here, you can have the type 2 diabetes, not me.
Well, and so, okay, I have to go back to Thanksgiving because, okay, here we are a couple weeks out from Christmas. We were, okay, I know back on the calendar. Here it is, November. So I started, day 1 was November 12th was when I started, which was one and a half weeks away from Thanksgiving.
Great time to start.
Yeah, well, and one of my friends, she and her husband, I kind of invited them for Thanksgiving because I asked what they were doing. She said, oh, nothing, we'll just be. I said, well, do you want to come over for Thanksgiving? Because there's only going to be a few of us. And I said, oh, wait, I need to tell you what we're doing for Thanksgiving. And she said, what? I said, well, I'm making a turkey. We won't have mashed potatoes. We won't have gravy. We will have yams. We'll have steamed vegetables. We'll have a salad. And I will make one pie because I think it would be cruel and unusual punishment to not have pie. And she looked at me. She said, we'll have ours at home. And that was fine. At least there was full disclosure and she didn't feel, but she said, this is a terrible time to start that. And my thought was, I can't think of a more perfect time.
Yeah. Well, and there's holidays and birthdays and weddings, and I feel like there's stuff all the time. So if people are in the mindset that they should wait until a better time, there won't be one. There really won't be.
There won't. And that's what I think this is just, for me, it has been perfect. How many times do you go through the holidays and after the fact kind of like
Kick yourself.
buying way too much, and after the fact you have sticker shock for what you see you spent and what you see what you ate, and you go, why did I eat that? Why didn't I have more self-control? Why was I so stupid? Why did I fall into that trap again? And so I think I am so excited because I'm going to come out of the holidays feeling pretty good.
Yes, you are.
So just I have to backtrack to yesterday. So I had my jeans on, and because I wear jeans a lot with horseback riding a lot and everything, and my jeans tell me my own story. And before Nat even said it, when we were sewing and stuff, I already knew. And I knew because she is very aware. I knew my pants were too big. And when I walked in and she took one look at me, she says, Mom, your pants are too big. I said, I know, I just need a belt. I said, I'm not buying jeans for a while because I'm not going to buy a pair of jeans and then need a smaller pair because I know that there's still more weight to come off. I started out at 158, so I'm down to 151.
And you're about 5'7"?
I'm 5'7", yeah. I remember when I was in college, I went to college when I was about 135. I came home, and the boy that I was dating at the time smacked my thighs and said, "Well, hippie," because I had put on some weight. I was 141. No, 143 when he did that.
Wow.
When I lost the weight when I was 51 years old, I mean, there's all kinds of numbers going through. When I was 51, I got down to 141. And everybody said, "Wow, you are so thin." Well, before my mission, when I was afraid about this boy that I had been dating who had gone on his mission, he was gone for 2 years, I was afraid about him coming home, and I was extreme. I ate a carrot for breakfast, ate an orange for lunch, I walked to the pool at BYU, swam a mile, walked home, ate a salad with no dressing and a can of green beans. That's what
called anorexia.
Well, no, that was fear.
Okay.
And I went from about 145 down to 128. I have not been 128, well, since then.
Well, and let me say this before we go on. For anybody listening, because I remember being young and hearing things like this and thinking, that's a great idea. Wow, look how much weight they dropped. So let me just tell you all the things wrong with that before we go on.
Maybe we should tell them the end of mine.
Okay.
So I went down to 128, and then I went on a mission. I went to a foreign country, which was very traumatic for me. Other people might not mind foreign. I did. My hair started to fall out the day I hit Canada. I did not like being out of the United States. And what other way to comfort yourself? Food. I remember my companion and I walking home and buying this large pizza for 2 of us. She went to bed. I ate the rest of the pizza, and then I threw it up.
Yeah.
I went into bulimia for the next almost 2 years. When I got home from my mission and Dad and I met, he said to me, "I would like to marry you, but you have so many health problems." And I remember feeling like, what are you talking about? I was in denial of all my health problems. And then I was petrified because this man that I loved was having second thoughts because of my health problems. And he did not have any idea about the bulimia. And it's as close as I can think of being an alcoholic, terrified that he would find out. And that fear knocked the bulimia out of me.
Wow.
And anyway, I've talked to a friend about the bulimia. But so that's what I would say. Yeah, it may sound like a good idea, but when you punish your body by such severe restrictions, there's going to be a backlash somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's not worth the price.
Well,
Use wisdom.
And losing muscle mass in addition to body fat is going to actually put your immune system at risk. You're going to get sick more. It's going to cause things like hair falling out, your hormones. I don't know, do you remember losing your period? Because that would be a natural consequence if you did it long enough.
Yeah.
After about 2 months or so, your menstrual cycle would really hit some problems because you're not getting enough fats for those hormones to function. And here's what a lot of yo-yo dieters or people that maybe have experienced like maybe a small degree of what you did is their metabolism is really slow. So even if they eat, let's say a normal, I'm doing air quotes, a normal food intake and regular exercise, they could still be gaining weight because their metabolism is so stressed it doesn't know how to function at that level anymore.
Well, and that's what, see, if I would have done the carrot orange salad regime, I did it for a month, and that was it. The bulimia, this is where people get really, it's like, bulimia didn't help me lose weight.
Oh yeah.
I still put on weight. I came home at 53 pounds, and my mom told me how ugly I looked. And was I going to lose weight before I got married because she was making my wedding dress. And again, it's not to her, it's just where she was coming from.
Generational differences. It goes
yes.
to show the transition of our perceptions towards body image over time.
Yeah, but so you look at me now. I weigh, when I started this 4 weeks ago, I weighed 3 pounds more than I did when I came home from my mission when my mother was telling me how overweight I was.
Also, has that been playing in your head at all?
No, because I thought everything's relative. Oh, there was something I was going to tell you. What was it? Oh, well. Anyway, I just, as I think about the bulimia, it's just a sick mental disorder that does nothing for your body except destroy it.
Yep.
When you think about gorging and purging, talk about the most unnatural thing to make your body do.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I could tell you anything you could eat, and how long it could stay in your stomach, and how long you had to throw it up before you got real bad digestive juices in there. And it just...
So it was almost like you couldn't be in that restrictive eating mindset anymore, so now you could eat, but then that was your compensation tool.
Right.
Okay.
But because, yeah, I mean, when you're on a mission, you're just out contacting people, you're not...
And you didn't have much control over your food. People would feed you, wouldn't they?
Yeah, that too. But it was such an emotional, soothing, eat. And, you know, when you've eaten too much, you feel awful.
Oh yeah, your brain will play all sorts of tricks on you then.
And, I mean, ooh, that feeling of so full. And so you throw it up. Oh, but now you're hungry again. So you go eat and you throw it up. Talk about the worst financial choices
Oh yeah, yep.
ever.
It's very addictive.
So...
Well, we've talked about a lot. We're both looking pretty good though.
Oh, slick.
Hair is done, makeup is
Is the
done.
back of my hair okay? Oh, well.
But one
troublesome.
thing we didn't really, I think we mentioned it briefly, but what I feel is important, because I experienced this a ton in my own life, is when you're doing really well, making that, I don't want to say it's a mistake, but being aware that a small justification like your Oreo milkshake of saying, well, it's okay. You have to be really mindful of this. And a lot of my clients have experienced, they do really well. They push, they get to their goal, they're looking fantastic, they feel fantastic, and then the need for quote unquote balance sets in. So everyone's balance is going to be a little different, but I tell them, I say, I promise it's a slippery slope.
Right.
You make one choice and then you're going to make two and then you're going to make three, and 3 weeks later you're going to wake up and say, what happened?
Yep.
And so...
Okay, well, so I will just address it from my perspective, again, because of that experience. And no, I think a big part of this is learning about yourself. Doesn't matter what 10 other people do or 100 other people do. You have to know yourself. And so for me, because I have this goal, my goal is to continue this eating process till March. And if I have weight to lose, great. If I don't, guess what won't happen?
Yeah.
It won't. And it's more a training, and it's also because of my brain, where my mom's mom died of dementia. My mom died with dementia. It's kind of like looking down the rifle barrel. And as I've read some of these other books, you know, on healthy eating and different things and the impact of what we eat on our brain, a big part of this is for my experiment on my brain. And what I have found so far is, other than that one time just a minute ago, I was going to tell you something and I can't remember, is my brain has felt clearer. I haven't lost my train of thought. It usually leaves the station without me, but I'm able to remember things, and I feel clearer.
Yeah.
And that's with just 4 weeks. I am interested to see how this is. So, November to December to January to February to March. 5 months. It will be 5 months in March. It's just, and okay, 5 months, sometimes perspective. You go, oh my gosh, you're going to cut how you eat. You're going to change how you eat for 5 whole months. Versus, wow, all you had to do was be careful for 5 months and you would have seen how your brain improved.
Yeah.
Isn't 5 months worth keeping your mentally awake and viable?
Yeah.
Worth it?
When you look back, count back 5 months ago. Today is what, December? So November, October, September, August, July was 5 months ago. That does not seem that long ago.
Right.
So then you do the same thing moving forward. And just for our listeners, a little quick background before we wrap up. The science that is coming out and has been coming out the past decade or so, some of the top doctors, Dr. Perlmutter, Dr. Mark Hyman, Dominic D'Agostino, Jacob Wilson, the research is very clear that sugars and carbohydrates are causing more inflammation throughout the body and particularly the brain, leading to these types of illnesses and diseases. And so it's not to say, some people are taking it a very extreme, saying never carbs, no carbs, absolutely. And in my book, I say carbs aren't the bad guy, but they must be respected. And so then when we go into this more of focusing on fat as energy, it helps us function better, keeps blood sugar more stable, it helps your brain feel better. Hormones are way better. Anybody listening to this dealing with any hormonal problems whatsoever, whether it's you're going through menopause, whether you have PCOS, whether you're dealing with some infertility. I'm not a doctor, but I will tell you the things I have seen in people's lives when they do focus on higher fats, so more of a PVF lifestyle with strategic carbs here or there, by far feel better in their body composition, and things begin to regulate.
Well, and this was the other thing, and this will be accountability for me, because, okay, last year when I went in for my physical, Dad and I go in for a physical every year, and my cholesterol has gone higher and higher. And so last March when I went in, my doctor was really about, well, what do you have against going on medication? And okay, just so listeners know, my siblings all have high cholesterol. My parents both had high cholesterol. You can say this is a genetic thing. We have a high cholesterol disposition. Well, over the years, as I've talked to my first primary care physician, who died a couple of years ago, I've always checked my percentage, my ratio, and my ratio, high cholesterol to or bad cholesterol, good cholesterol, bad HDL to LDL, my ratio is good, but my LDL is high. It's very high. And so this new doctor is going, this is really bad. And I finally printed out the stuff that I was doing online to justify. I said, I'm not going to go on medication, because the minute you go on one, then you have another to counteract the side effects. Anyway, so, and I have tried different things over the years and found some very interesting results. But this, anyway, so Dr. Muse says, fine, if you will concede to have a cardiac, some kind of a cardiac test, where cardiac imaging. I said, sure. It was worth the $200 that I had to pay out of pocket to go have this done. And when they did the test, I was at 1%.
Huh. Of blockage? Is that what it's looking at?
Yeah, of buildup.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I was in a great place. And so he said, okay, for a year. Anyway, but I'm very interested to see after 5 months how this kind of eating affects my cholesterol.
And if it follows the trajectory of what we know from the science, I would put my money on it's going to be lower, in spite of you having eggs and bacon for breakfast.
Right.
Because what do we know, and what have you learned about cholesterol? It's not the cholesterol we eat, right?
Right.
What have you learned and been excited about learning and told me?
Yeah, well, that really, it's your body produces cholesterol, and when you cut all these things that are, high fat, you need to cut this and cut this, your body starts producing stuff that it's not supposed to. And also the thing I've added in is whole milk. I'm drinking whole milk. I'm eating whole eggs. I am eating bacon. And number one,
Great American breakfast right there.
I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
I look forward to breakfast. I'm not hungry.
You're not eating 100-calorie, low sugar protein bar for breakfast that isn't going to help you feel good.
That yogurt or whatever. And anyway, there's just so much to it.
Yeah, we could go on forever.
Yeah.
But hopefully some perspective here. We got to head off to church now. But to all our listeners, just keep going. Apply at least one thing you've learned that maybe has been a little aha moment, and do something about it. Don't just say, that's a nice thought.
And okay, I have to say one more thing. Look for the things that you enjoy. Don't go, I can't have that. I can't have that. I go, wow, I get a steak for lunch. I'm so excited. I made a meatloaf patty for dinner, and Dad and I love the meatloaf patties. It just, instead of thinking what you can't have, think about what you can have, because there is so much good stuff to look forward to eating. Mealtime doesn't have to be a,
Dread or boring or
nothing to look forward to.
Yeah.
Food is still wonderful, but you're using wisdom. One meal,
one workout,
one day at a time.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes. You can learn more about Body Buddies and Power Foods Lifestyle by going to www.body-buddies.com, BODY-BUDDIES.com, and powerfoodslifestyle.com. That's www.powerfoodslifestyle.com.
Information in this episode is provided for informational purposes and is not meant to substitute the advice provided by your own physician or other medical professional. Information and statements regarding dietary supplements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.